spark. See you in a few minutes. Welcome to Sisterhood Checkin. I am your author and coach, Nadira Lewis, and it is Friday. Woo! Yes, it is Friday. If you are watching us via YouTube, make sure you click the subscribe button, hit the notification button so that you can be notified every time we upload a new video. If you are watching us via Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, or Instagram, make sure you click like and share if you've been blessed by the content you have been receiving each and every Friday. Well, guys, it is Friday and I am excited because not only is it Friday, but you know what? I woke up in my right mind. I woke up feeling great, and that's something to be celebrated because let me tell you something. For the past couple of days, I have been aching in some spots with all this activity from tennis to skating, but I am determined to keep moving. I am determined to not allow what I feel to stop me from being active and doing the things that I love. It doesn't mean that I don't get a chance to rest when my body tells me to rest, but sometimes you have to learn how to push past your pain. You have to sometimes learn how to push past your frustration, because if you always submit to pain, submit to frustration, submit to anger, then what happens is in the end, it's not good for you, your mindset, or your body. So I'm going to go ahead. We're going to talk about today's topic. Before we get into our topic, we're going to play a quick video. And then when we come back, we'll go ahead and discuss. I don't have any guests today. So we're going to be talking about an interesting topic about what will you be known for, right? Some of us we're known for a lot of things, right? We're known for being CEOs. We're known for being the boss chick. We're known for being the one that was the HNIC, head nigga in charge. We are known for being the loudmouth. But what are you known for that speaks about you? Right? What are you known for? What are some things that you're known for that talks about your integrity, that talks about the things that you are good at, not just the things that you feel like you're failing at. There are some things that you are great at. There are some things that you can leave behind besides all of the negativity and all of the things that you feel like you're incompetent at. You are made in the image of God, and there are some gifts and talent and some things that God has placed on the inside of you that make up who you are. And I just believe, God, that you are going to, after we discuss this topic tonight, that you're going to think differently about who you are and the person that God created you to be. We'll be right back after this. Hey, and we are back here with Sisterhood Check-In with me, your host, Nadira Lewis, author and coach. And before we went into and took our break, I was talking about a topic that I wanted to talk about today, and that is, what will you be known for, right? What will you be known for when you die, right? What will you be known for when you succeed? What will you be known for when you're going through a trial or tribulation? What will you be known for when your kids look at you, right? What will you be known for when it comes to your peers? What will you be known for when it comes to your family? What will you be known for when it comes to your spouse? What will you be known for when it comes to your business, right? And I say all that to say, because sometimes there's a lot of emphasis in our own minds on things that we're not accomplished at, things that we have not yet completed, things that we have not yet fulfilled. And I want to talk about that. It was funny because I had an incident. I was painting my house, right? And I always look at the lessons that I feel like God is teaching me in every scenario. And sometimes I've been doing it for so long that it's just natural for me to do it. I don't even think twice. It's just like I can go in the middle, I could be in the middle of something and it's like, bam, I can see a lesson in it, right? And so I was painting, right? And I had already got the paint prepared. I was excited because my walls were brown and I was like, oh, I need a different color. I need a bright color, because of the fact that I feel like colors do something to you. When you have dark colors in your house, it just gives up, to me, I'm not saying to everybody, but to me, dark colors give off a certain vibe, a certain energy, right? And I wanted a different type of energy because I'm a person, I'm fully vibrant. I'm very energetic. I love things that are around me that represent life, energy, great energy, or how some people say good vibes, right? So I had made a decision and I said, you know what? I'm going to paint my wall like a coral color. And so I got everything prepared to get everything done, did all the preparation, right? And so I want you to look at where I'm going with this. So I get everything prepared. I get I open up the can, stir the paint, lay out everything on the floor, in the area where I'm going to paint. And I'm just confident and assured that this wall is going to turn out great, right? And it did. I did not know all the events that was going to take place in between the time that I prepared to the time that I was actually viewing my finished product, right? So here I am preparing everything, and I sit the paint on the ladder and I'm excited. I'm getting prepared to paint. Well, as soon as I take maybe 2 or 3 strokes, I look up and the paint just falls on the floor, right? Half the container of paint. Yes. And I have hardwood floors. So I'm freaking out, right? Because I'm staring there and I'm looking at the paint like, first of all, did this just really happen? Am I dreaming? Have I just been punked? Did something okay, maybe I'm just dreaming. This didn't really just happen. Okay, so I'm just going to wake up from this dream because this paint did not just fall on the floor, or almost half the container. I started to get discouraged. I didn't know, I had all these mixed emotions. I wanted to cry, get mad. I thought, oh my gosh, this whole floor is going to be completely damaged. What am I going to do? This is all in a matter of seconds. Oh my God, the paint is going to dry before I can even get it all up. What's going to happen? I started getting all worked up and started having anxiety attack. Like, oh my God, like, what am I going to do? And it was like a calm just came over me, right? And I just felt like, you can do this. You can get this up. You can do this. All you need is a strategy. So I'm thinking, well, yeah, what kind of strategy am I going to need to get? I need a strategy to get this paint up because it's going to dry before I can get it all. It was on my couch. It was on my white carpet. It was on my floor. I have a eggshell dining room set. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is it. I'm done for. I didn't even want to paint no more. The desire to paint just went away. So I got down off the ladder and I sat there and I thought, oh my gosh, now I'm stepping in the paint and now I'm transferring the paint to other places in the house, right? Which is sometimes what happens. Sometimes when we're in a wreck, sometimes we're carrying that same energy and pain into other areas of our life and don't even realize it, right? So I'm like, oh my God, this is worse. I don't even have anything to get this up but soap and water, right? Just the stuff that I've been using as always to clean my floors. Or I have this stuff called Once and Done, and I'll use that on my floors, and it does an excellent job. It doesn't leave a sticky residue or anything. So I'm thinking, oh my God, I don't even know if I'm equipped. I don't know if I even have what I need to even accomplish even cleaning up the mess, right? That I have. How am I going to get through this? I'm not even equipped. I don't even know if I have what everything that I need to make sure that I can clean this up without spot or blemish, without it looking really, really bad in the end, right? Lesson for me in that, right? So I started to be able to clean it up. I started to get the mop, and I thought, oh my God, I spent like $50 on this mop. This is one of those mops where it spins around. Excuse me, it spins around. And once it spins around, it actually shakes up all the water. So I thought, oh my God, this is gonna be a disaster. I already see this. And I still kept feeling like you can do this. Like there was a calm in me, like you can do this. All you need is a strategy to get this done. You can do this. And I'm thinking, wow, why is it that I feel so calm all of a sudden? So started cleaning up long story short, I started cleaning up the paint little by little. And I started to see, as I started to take a deep breath and say, you can do this, you can get this up. I started to talk to myself and convince myself that though this looked really, really bad, you can get through this. No matter how hard, you are a problem solver. You can do this. You can get through this. You've gotten through much worse. I started to pull on my past victories and my past experiences where I overcame some things that were really bad. And I started to look at this paint and started to realize I can do this. I don't know how, but I'm going to take my time and I'm going to set my mind up that I'm going to get through this. So I start cleaning up the paint little by little. It was tracking in the kitchen, and I thought, oh, just stay focused, Nadira. Just stay focused. You're going to get through this. And I started to pace myself through the cleanup. And I realized in that moment that sometimes when we're trying to clean up certain things in our lives, we want to do it in a rush because we feel like we want instant results, not realizing that some things take time. Some things take extreme strategy. Some things just take you just being patient, taking a deep breath and just walking through it, right? And so that's what I did. I chose to take a deep breath and say, you know what, you can get through this. So I started to clean up everything. I started to grab some towels and I started to clean up the majority of the heavy, because it was so much paint. I started to get nervous because it was smearing all over. It was just looked like it was just making it worse. And all I kept saying was, you're going to get through this. Just pace yourself. Just pace yourself. See yourself getting this cleaned up. So I'm looking at my couch, and I have a cloth couch, and so I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm like coral on my couches. This couch is done for. So I said, no, I'm gonna go ahead, and I started wiping the couch off, and I started to take my time wiping it off, seeing in the back of my mind that this is gonna come off and that it's gonna be a different outcome. And the more I did that, I noticed the paint was coming up. And for a moment, I would get encouraged and be like, "Woo!" And then I would get discouraged because I'm like, "Oh gosh, it's in another area. It's on here. Now, am I not looking at this paint all over the floor? It's all over my furniture. How am I going to get it off the furniture?" There's always going to be something that's going to bombard your mind and make you think what else you're not going to be good at. Not only see, the enemy is not good at making you not believe that you're not going to be good in one area. He wants to show you where you're not going to be good in every area of your life, so that you can be fully convinced that you're nothing. That you can be fully convinced that you're completely discouraged and that is no hope for you, right? So as I was getting the paint up, I started to see a little bit of hope. Then as I got up all the huge amounts of paint, I realized, oh my gosh, though that I have the majority of this paint up, this paint looked like it's starting to dry. Oh my gosh, how am I going to get this off? So I started using some hot soapy water, and the paint, it took a little bit of time, but it was coming up. And the more calmer I became, and the more I rested in the fact that I was going to get this paint up, and I was assured, I was convinced in my heart, right? The paint started to come up, right? Now I had to get rid of my carpet. I could have took it to get cleaned and things like that. But I just got rid of the carpet. I got it off my couch, completely off my furniture, off of my egg white dining room set. I got it off of my couch. I got it off of my coffee table. I had gotten it off the floor, and I started to get excited because I started to see that If all I needed to do was just be calm, focus on the end goal of what I wanted to accomplish, and it relaxed me and helped me get up the paint a lot faster and in a timely manner that it did not dry. And then I started to get encouraged to continue to paint, right? So here I am, I'm looking at the wall that I wanted to paint. Now that encouragement is coming back. And there's nobody there to encourage me. There's no person that I can pick that I could have called, my best friend and my other girlfriend. I could have called a lot of different people and could have sobbed, could have whined, but I chose in that moment to see the outcome of what I wanted to see. I wanted to see the outcome of me painting this wall, right? And me getting to a place where I can look back and see that I overcame all this pain. This is another story, another victory added to my roster or to my list of victories or accomplishments, right? And so I'm getting it up and I'm looking at the wall and I'm looking at the floor and I'm like, keep going. So I go in the kitchen, I'm cleaning up all the residue and I'm looking at the mop and everything is coming off the mop. And I'm like, whoa. So I'd say it took me from 12 a.m. to 3 a.m. to completely be finished with the painting, cleanup, and everything. So it took 3 hours. I started to look at the paint and I started to look at everything. Once I got everything cleaned up, I started to smile. I started to get excited. And I said, because it's moments, though it may seem something simple, like, oh, yeah, it's just paint. Who cares? Whatever. But to me, in my private moment, that was another victory. And what people don't realize is in your private moments where you obtain victory, makes you confident and stronger when you deal with things publicly or openly when you're around other people. Now I understood how David could rest in the confidence of his abilities because of what he went through privately, killing the bears and lions when nobody's looking. So it was easy for him to say, who is this uncircumcised Philistine who defy the name of the Lord, and be able to know with confidence that he can destroy him because he realized his victories in his private time, right? And that's what I learned. I was excited because I realized that I was able, that though this was a huge problem and I was able to get through it, right? Alone, in a sense of not having anybody else around, which added to my confidence to be able to say, I can get through anything. Because if I can get through this and not see myself as a failure for dropping the paint. And it's funny because right before it happened, I remember looking at myself and saying, this paint is going to fall. Right? How many times have people told you things were going to happen and yet you just ignore your conscience, you ignore that voice, that little still small voice that says don't do this, but you just keep going, right? You don't think about the consequences. You just know it's going to be good. I'm good. And so that's what I did. I ignored my instinct to move the paint thing from where it was. But I was like, oh, it should be fine. Though I had already foresaw that this paint was going to fall, God still allowed me to get through it, to talk about it even now and not be discouraged. So I started to get, needless to say, this was a huge victory for me because I didn't have to worry about destroying my floor. And I still got to focus on the end goal, which was to paint my wall, right? And so when I looked at it, after I got done and I was doing the finishing touches of the paint, I started to look at the wall and I started to get excited and I realized that, you know what, in order for this wall in order for this wall to be exactly what I dreamed it to be, I had to envision me finishing it, right? Like Jesus said, for the joy that was set before him, he endured the cross. So he was already looking ahead of what the outcome was. So it made dealing with what he went through in the current situation a lot easier to get through. Didn't mean it was easy, but it made it manageable, being able to be able to get through that moment knowing that he was going to be crucified, right? And I started to look at that same situation and I said, you know what, this looks like it's impossible. And this looks like it's going to cost me way more money than a 24 or $5 gallon of paint. This is going to cost me more, all because I was inspired to paint my house. And because I was inspired, I wanted to see the outcome, the finished outcome, without realizing or knowing that I was going to even go through what I went through. So here I am looking at the outcome of the paint, and I'm looking at the wall, and I'm smiling on the inside, because though the wall is beautiful, and I'll show you guys a picture of what it looks like, though the wall is beautiful now, and I was able to finish my living room exactly the way I wanted to, I felt like I felt like there was a sense of accomplishment on the inside, to where I felt like I am fearless. I have the capability of overcoming anything once I set my mind on the end result. That's what I was thinking. And so for somebody else, you might look at it and say, oh, that just sounds corny. Oh, whatever. But to me, it was another victory in my toolbox. It was something else. I was able to overcome something that was, and it's funny because I thought about patience, right? Patience is the only fruit of the spirit that cannot be gained any other way except for when you're in the midst of a trial. We try to be patient. We try to be patient. I'm sorry, I had to make sure my mic was on, because sometimes these mics will just, let me make sure my mic is completely back on so I don't lose. Hold on one second. Okay. So let me just make sure. Hold on before I continue, because I know sometimes these mics just mess up. Okay, there we go. I'm going to tell this story regardless. So anyway, so I'm sitting over here and I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, here I am thinking about the fact that I've got one more thing that I've overcome. So now I can share this story and be confident. So it made me feel like I can overcome anything, right? It didn't make me feel like I was arrogant. It just made me feel like this is another journey that I've accomplished. So now when I face something similar to this, I have the ability and the patience, because patience, you can only get patience in the midst of a circumstance. You're not born patient. It just doesn't happen. It's one of those things that have to be worked out, right? So I started to see my patience being worked out, and it was encouraging. It felt wonderful. And I started to feel like, wow, Nadira, you're not, if you can just do this more and more, if you can just remind yourself of all the private victories that you've had, if you can just accomplish that, there's nothing that's going to be impossible to you. Because sometimes it's easy to tell people to believe, 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 but sometimes it's hard to believe if you haven't had any a history of overcoming some things in life. But I'm telling you, you live long enough and you go through enough things, you will realize that God has given you the ability to overcome just about anything. But you won't know that, and you won't be confident of that until you actually go through something, right? And so I started to get excited, and I started to feel like, wow, now no matter what I go through, I have the proof in my private life that I've overcome this situation. And sometimes it's in those private moments that you realize you don't want to be a public success and a private failure. There's a lot of people that are outwardly showing how great they are, how great they look, but inwardly there are some private struggles that they have not even shared with anybody, right? And not all private struggles need to be shared, but you need to make sure that you are working on you are working on yourself, and that you're allowing God to do the work internally when the cameras are off. All right. When you're not on social media, when you're not around your favorite group of people, what are you doing in your private life to be able to? Most of the time we try to speak, and it's funny because I was thinking about this even as a coach, right? And I thought about what qualifies me as a coach, what qualifies me to be able to encourage and help other people. And I thought to myself, I've had so many things that I've overcome, so many things that I have went through and gone through, that I have the evidence and the proof by my faith and by where I am now, that I've been in some of those places. I know how to help. I'm like the Harriet Tubman of some circumstances, because I know what it's like to go through something and go through the discouragement, and know what it's like to give up and not want to, and just want to just bury your head in the pillow. I know what it's like to feel depressed, to feel suicidal. I know what it's like to feel discouraged, to feel like you're not enough. I know what it's like to have failed relationships, failed marriages, failed in finances, failed in your house. I know what it's like to be a failed parent, to feel like everything is coming down on you, and not and to be looked at one way, and internally you feel like you want to fall apart. But what I've learned in this experience with painting is that we have to give ourselves a lot more credit than what we do, right? Because some of us have overcome a lot of things privately in our life, but we don't see it as anything important because we feel like it's not that big of a deal. We tend to appreciate the things that we overcome publicly because we feel like people are watching, people see us, and they think of us as this great, awesome person. But it doesn't matter. I wrote a meme. I did this a long time ago, and I said, it's not what people speak loud about you. It's what you say privately to yourself. It's the victories that you overcome in your private life that helps you to, one, to be able to identify when something like that is happening in somebody else's life. And you have the ability to be able to walk them through that because you've been through it. You know what that feels like, right? So we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to continue on this topic on at what will you be known for. I am going to talk about some of the things that I want to be known for in all the areas that we discuss. And I want you to put in the comments and let me know, what do you want to be known for? What do you want your family, your friends, and your peers to know about you? What are some things in your life that you feel like you have overcome, or that qualifies you to be an example or a role model in somebody else's life? So while you're doing that, we'll be right back after this. You know, there's seasons in that our gifts operate and flow in. There's seasons. And if you miss your season or your moment, your gift may not be no longer useful. Because if he called a generation to ask a question or to need something in a specific season, and he birthed you for that season, you're useless if you don't operate in your season.
Listen, Nadira, listen. Yeah, you're doing it again. You're doing it again. That's what you're doing.
Bottom line.
Stop. I want it. I got it. 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 I want it. I got it.
My spirit for the past couple of days, and that is, what will you be known for? So I talked about an incident with me painting in the first segment, and the lessons that I learned from that horrible experience that gave me some tremendous nuggets to put in my toolbox when it comes to overcoming the next circumstance or situation in my life, or to be able to help someone else. So before I went into the break, I said I was going to return and tell you what are some of the things that I want to be known for. And I asked you guys to put in the comments, what do you want to be known for? Right? And I'm going to tell you, what I want to be known for is a woman of faith. I want to be known for a woman that didn't give up, right? I want to be known for a woman that her children can look at and glean from and say, she is genuinely a Proverbs 31 woman. She is capable of being a businesswoman, being a mother. She is capable of running her household and running her business and taking care of her husband and knowing and being a woman of wisdom and being a woman of influence. I want to be known for overcoming private battles in my life so that I can, and I want my kids to be able to see that. I want them to be able to look at that and say, you know what? I've seen mom come through some things. That is the greatest thing. We prepare financially, we prepare everything else when it comes to leaving things behind to our kids. But you want to leave behind faith, encouragement. You want to leave behind victory so that your children can see you as an example and say, this is not going on in my life the way I want to. This is not happening, but I've seen my mom go through this. So I know that if God did it for my mom, he can do it for me too. So I want to leave a legacy of not just financial, but I want to leave a legacy of hope, a legacy of victory in their private lives. So no matter what goes on, it doesn't mean that when you go through things in your private life that that things are going to always go the way you planned them to. But I want them to know that the same God that was there to be able to help them through the public areas of their life is there to help them in their private areas of their life. I want my children to know that it's not a matter of what people see physically about you. I think the things that make a person beautiful is not just external, right? Most people, they look at you and they say, oh, you're beautiful, you're beautiful, you're beautiful. And most people think that the beauty that they see is just purely external. But there is a beauty that is on the inside of us as women, as mothers, that we can exemplify to the people around us in our family, that they can say, okay, yes, this person, though she may outwardly look like this, her spirit, her heart is beautiful. Her heart exemplifies the true beauty in which she really is. So put in the comments and let me know, what is it that you want to be known for, right? I want people to look at me and be able to say, wow. I want to be like the Bible when it says her children rise up and call her blessed, right? And I don't want it to just be for namesake. I want to genuinely be able to give them something to hold on to and say, at the end of the day, that when I'm no longer here and I am with the Lord, they have something to sit back and teach their children, right? The Bible tells us that the older woman should teach the younger woman, right? And so our job is to be able to teach, right, what it is that we are what it is that we got. And I have a quick emergency real quick, so I'm going to take a quick break and then I'll be right back after this. Okay, I'm back. I had to deal with a quick emergency, so I have gotten that done, and we're going to go ahead and continue. So one of the things that I've realized is that I want my children to be able to look at me and say, you know what, mom, and it's funny because I hear that my children tell me all the time the things that they cherish about who I am. And I have a lot of things that I can add to my list and say, well, but I'm not good at this and I'm not good at that. I can give just as much of a list of things that I feel insecure or not confident about to add to the list of things that I am confident about and the things that I have overcome. But one of the things I realize is that, above all the things, it doesn't matter what I look like publicly, because if I don't deal with the things that are affecting me in my mind privately, if I don't deal with the things that are causing me discouragement privately, it doesn't matter what I display publicly, because the people that you're around outwardly here on the internet, you guys are not in my personal life. So I can show and display anything, but I want to be able to truly authentically display who I am, which is why I do this show and have done it for almost 2 years and am consistent with it, because no matter what goes on, I am determined to make sure that I not only just overcome in my private life, but that I'm being the example to other people, right? Most of the time when I think about some of us that desire to be mentors or coaches, we look for something external to make us feel confident, and make us feel like we have the ability to do the things that God put on the inside of us. But what we don't realize is that there are some intangible things that God has placed on the inside of us that makes you fully qualified to share your experience. And you don't need all the extra fluffy stuff to be able to tell that story. All you have to do is think about when I wrote my book, and I wrote What Happened to Me, How Did I Get Here? I struggled for years trying to figure out the correct way to be able to write my book. I was thinking about, well, all the stuff that really not, I wouldn't say that it didn't matter, but it was becoming a hindrance to me even making the first initiative of even writing the book. So I was worried about being perfect in so many different areas that it took me years to write the book. And so one day I sat down and I said to myself, you know what? I started to think about the goodness of God. And I started to think about all the things that I went through and all the things that I overcame. And I started to cry because I started to see and remember the goodness of God. And as I began to remember, I started to write. I felt led to write. I wrote my book in less than 30 days and was able to do the titles, the table of content. I was able to write all of my material in less than 30 days, and it wasn't a struggle. Every day I would just take some time to just remember. That's all it took for me to get into my mode to talk about my story and encourage people in my book. And that's sometimes all you have to do. Sometimes we just need to remember the things that we've gone through. We need to remember and not take for granted the small accomplishment and the small things that we do overcome, because those are things that God has allowed us to overcome. They're a part of your story. They are a part of your victory, that they're a part of the thing that is going to be a survival guide for somebody else, right? Most of the people that have read my books, like, oh my God, I didn't even know you went through that. You didn't even look like you went through half of that. I didn't even know. And that's because I was determined that no matter what life brought before me, that I was going to be determined that I was going to get through it and tell my story one day. So when I sat down to write that story and I began to write about all the stuff that I was going through, I was flabbergasted, because when I went back to read sometimes you have to go back and read those things. It's good to journal. And this is why I always advertise about the Woman of Proverbs, the wisdom journal, because as you're planning your day, you should be able to jot down your experiences. You should be able to jot down all the things that you're feeling, all the things that you've overcome, so that you can look back and reflect. Sometimes we're trying to do things in positions from a place of just purely expertise alone. And we need to sometimes just sit back and just think about, man, I've overcome sickness. I've overcome diseases. I need to just remember about the goodness of God and begin to start writing. You'll find yourself writing. And when I went back and read my book, I thought, oh my gosh, wow. I over here was waiting for some external things to write my book. And I had everything on the inside of me to write my book exactly the way I needed to, so that I can be able to help the right person. Don't, I always say this, it's not this, it's always the start that stops people. We don't do and really fully operate in the gifts and calling that God gave us to, because we're so concerned about the external. We're so concerned about how we look, what people are going to think. But mostly what I realize is that people are concerned with your victories. They're concerned with you winning. They're concerned with how you overcome. They want to know what's going on in the middle. I don't care. Yeah, the victory is great. It's good to know that you overcame. That's great. It's always good to know that. But how did you get through in the process? What did you do in that curve to get you to this point? And that's what I focused on. And that's what I continue to focus on. And that's what keeps me being persistent and consistent in doing the things that I'm doing in my life, because I wake up realizing that my story, that every time I overcome, I'm overcoming for somebody else. I'm overcoming so that I can show them how they can live through this, how they can go through it. And you will be amazed at some of the results and things that you overcome. I'm telling you, it's amazing. So write down in the comments and let me know, what are some things that you've overcome? What are some things that you've had to sit back and just think about and realize just how good God is in your life? Well, just to be able to write that book. Some of us has taken us years to write this book, and I know some of it has a lot to do with timing, but most of the time it has a lot to do with us just not really taking the things that God has given us seriously, not being a good steward over the victories and the things that we've overcome, not being a good steward over it. So we take it for granted because we look at it as it's not that important, but it is important. Somebody's watching you. Somebody wants to know, that is living the a life similar to yours, is wondering, how did you do it? How did you overcome? How did you get out of that abusive relationship? How did you overcome your money issues? How did you overcome the fear in business? How did you do that? People are not concerned with the perfection of how you did it. They want to know how. Give me the details. Show me what did it take? What was your mindset? What did you do? Because I'm in that curve and I need something that you have. And I can't let you die until you give me what has been deposited on the inside of you. If you've got courage deposited on the inside of you, I need it. I need you to not die with my stuff inside of you. Don't die with somebody else's stuff on the inside of you. Somebody is waiting to hear how you overcame. Don't take it lightly. Don't take it lightly. Oh my gosh. First John 5:5 said, "Who is it that overcometh the world? Only the one who believes that Jesus is the Son of God." When you realize that God is an ever-present help, and that everything that you've gotten through in life is not as a result of your own strength, but because God has given you the ability, the ability, the ability to get through that. That's huge. You're not getting through this on your own. You're not that smart. You're not that victorious. It's God that works in you to do the will, right? It's God, it's Him that that works to do the will inside of you, right? It's Him that gives you the encouragement. It's Him that gives you the ability to get through it. Because if you try to do it in your own strength, that's probably why you're not doing it, because you're trying to do it in your own strength. But when you sit back and you allow God to be to control, your life, and to help you navigate through some of the struggles, sometimes you'll realize I'm working harder and not smarter. And that some of this stuff is not even as bad as it looks. It just only looks like that because of what I see. Like Peter, when Peter was in the boat and Jesus told him to step out on the water, and he began to step out, and he was feeling confident that he can do it, right? And he stepped out of the water and he started to look at the boisterous winds, and then he sunk. And Jesus' response to him was, "Peter, like, in other words, I'm gonna just sum it up for some of you that watching that don't read the Bible." He was pretty much like, "What, like, dude, what happened? Like, you was doing good. What happened?" Right? And that's what happens to us. Sometimes God permits us or unctions us to move out of our comfort zone because we have the faith. We may not even accomplished it yet. Ooh. Have you ever been so excited about something and you felt like you can conquer the world, and there's always somebody in the boat that's always making you think that you can't do it because they haven't accomplished it? Or the enemy in your mind will tell you, "Oh, you know what? You ain't nobody ever done that before. You ain't gonna be able to do that. Nobody's ever done that and made it through." But yet you sit back and you see yourself doing the very thing that people said that you couldn't do, or that you yourself have convinced yourself that you can't do. And then all of a sudden you sink because you allowed the outside circumstances to consume your ability and your faith. Do you know that Jesus said that when he come back, he said, "Will I find faith on the earth?" Right? I was telling my daughter this, and I said, what's amazing is of all the things, he said, when I come back, will I find faith on earth? The greatest, he said, without faith, it's impossible to please him. Sometimes we're trying to please God with so many different things, and he tells us how to please him by faith. Without faith, it's impossible to please him, because he that cometh to God must first believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. So not only does he reward you, right? You please, when you walk in faith, he rewards you, and you make him, and it's like it's like you want to be validated. That is your validation. That is your form of validation. Faith. We take it very lightly about when we think about the word faith. Just the fact that he'll reward us and tells us that you can't even please him. We trying to please God with so much stuff, and God tells us the way to how to please him is through faith. So here it is. Peter walks out. And give me 1 second. I gotta close my door because I know the girls are coming. Hold on 1 second. Okay, so here it is. Peter, he's telling, could you imagine you're looking at something in life and you're like, man, I see myself doing great things. I see myself running that business. I see myself getting married. I see myself doing this. And all of a sudden you start looking at all the circumstance around you. Oh, I see myself wanting to run this business. Oh, but my money ain't right. Oh, I see myself getting married. Oh my God, but I got too many insecurities. I see myself owning a home, but oh my gosh, my credit is bad. I see myself having children. Oh my gosh. Oh, I don't know, but I'm old. I'm 40 something years old. I don't know if that's going to happen. It's always the outside circumstances that are there to reassure you of what could possibly happen. But when you take that moment and you begin to look at what you are capable of doing, and what happens if you do it? What happens if you do start that business? What happens if you do well? What happens if you do get married? What happens if you do buy that house? What happens if you do the very thing that you're afraid to do? What is the worst thing that can happen? You do it, right? We're so conditioned to think about the worst that we don't take time to think about what can happen if we will, if we do. I moved to Florida when I was 21 years old, never lived outside of the state of New Jersey. I took a chance. It just seems like when you're younger, when children, it's like you almost like you have that childlike faith. You don't worry about anything. You just do whatever's in your heart, right? When you're young, right? When you get older, you got a little bit of experience under your belt. You're more fearful about the things that you're going to lose, right? Versus when you're younger. I moved at the age of 21 years old to 2,000 miles away with 2 children, 2,000 miles to a place I've never been before, and built a whole life for me and my kids, right? Not only did I do that, but me stepping out to do that, even though I had all of you can't do this and all the you shouldn't and you couldn't because you're a single mom, you have kids. It was all these limitations of why I could not do it. But not only did I do it, 17 years later, my entire immediate family moved to Florida. Right? And this is how I look at it. My entire immediate family moved to Florida, and now they're here with their families. What if I didn't make that move, right? I often think about that. What if I didn't make that move, right? What if I decided, that I'm not going to go ahead and I'm not going to make that move to Florida because of fear that I'm not going to be able to make it? I wouldn't even have my great nephew, who's like I believe like 6-7 months now. He would have never been here. Everything is affected by your ability to be able to move in faith. Not only did my mother move to Florida, my brothers moved to Florida, and his wife, everybody moved, and my entire immediate family life has changed since so it not only did I motivate myself and the people around me, I motivated my family to take that shift to move 2,000 miles away. So guess what? When you get out of your comfort zone, you help other people to get out of their comfort zone. So what you do in your private thoughts matter. It matters. And I want you to know that you have the ability, if you got a seed of greatness on the inside of you, you have the ability to change everything around you. You have the ability to change your family's life. You have the ability to change your life if you just take the time in your private life and don't take for granted the little victories that you've gone through, because those little victories are going to help you build up enough stamina to overcome the big victories. Were you blessed? I hope you were. Thank you so much for joining me. I just can't tell you how many times I appreciate you joining me here on Sisterhood Check-In. It's been an absolute pleasure to serve you every Friday with guests or just by myself. Thank you for faithfully watching me every Friday. And if you have a testimony that you would like to share here on the Sisterhood Check-In broadcast, make sure you send me a message, inbox me at the @handle Woman of Prov, and let me know some areas that you have overcome. Let me know some areas that you've overcome in your private life that you want to share with the people on my platform. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you guys for watching so much. I appreciate each and every one of you that engage and respond and engage with us here on the broadcast. Each and every one of my sponsors, thank you so much. I appreciate you. I would not be able to do this without you. You are actively a part of Sisterhood Check-In's team. And I just want to take the time to tell you thank you so much. So don't forget to watch me on Sunday with me and visionary coach Thomas Taylor III as we continue our journey with Dinner with the Coaches, Sundays at 7 p.m. I look forward to seeing you on Sunday. Have an amazing weekend. And don't allow anybody to come in and steal your joy, right? Keep winning privately and allow people to see, like Nike say, just do it. You got something on your heart that you want to do? Just do it. Don't allow people that are scared to move in their own personal life to hinder you from moving in yours. Don't allow people, if you want to start a business, don't allow people who scared, who afraid to take that initiative in their own life, stop you from doing it. You want to start a relationship? Don't allow people who aren't in a relationship to hinder you and tell you that it can't be done. You want to buy a house? Go out there and buy a house. Don't allow people who has never owned a house to discourage you from getting that house if that's what you want. You want to have a baby? Go have a baby. Of course, if you're married, don't allow people to stop you from experiencing life the way God designed you to. And only you have the ability to do that. Nobody can do it.
Bottom line.
Stop. I want it. I got it. 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 I want it. I got it.